Well, we most certainly will hear about them. There is no doubt that the economy ranks as the most important issue in terms of the American people and what they want the president to discuss. About 96%, according to our recent Battleground poll, feel that it is an issue the president should be addressing in his State of the Union address. There is sort of a difference in terms of how the Republicans perceive the issue and how the Democrats do. And the president will surely be focusing on issues like minimum wage, extension of unemployment benefits, all of which are controversial for the Republicans in Congress. The Battleground poll showed that 79% of the American people say that it is an important issue. Whether it is somewhat important or extremely important, 79% of Americans are agreed that income inequality is an important issue. But what is interesting is that deeper in our Battleground poll, we asked Americans to also look at other issues that were somewhat important or very important. And in fact, the economy, jobs, the deficit, all ranked ahead of income inequality, as did, in fact, immigration reform. So one of the things that is fascinating is that both income inequality and the healthcare issue are both in the essentially high 70s, low 80s. And what that really means is that though it is important to the American people, it still ranks below their priorities for what the president should be addressing and should be talking about. And I think what you're going to see is that to a certain extent, over the course of this election year, both parties, the Republicans who are likely to be talking about the problems with the Affordable Care Act and the Democrats who are planning to focus on income inequality, may be actually missing the boat in terms of connecting with the American people who still are seriously concerned about jobs, the state of the economy, and whether or not the government is working and the deficit is actually shrinking. One of the things that is true is that, as you said, this president's box, the First Lady sitting with her, it's been used as a way to essentially highlight and make real policy issues, to essentially show the people that are under the policies. And one of the things that's sure to be there this time around are individuals who've had positive experiences with the Affordable Care Act and individuals who are suffering in our current economy. So as the president is talking about the minimum wage, I wouldn't be surprised if there was someone who is working and is earning the minimum wage and is working a number of jobs just to try to sort of make ends meet. In addition, I would think that we would also see some reference to someone with regard to the issue of income inequality. The most interesting thing about that question is that probably none of them. What we typically see is that in our presidential elections, at least in modern times, those who are perceived as outsiders, meaning that they are sitting governors or they are sort of former federal officials, have run for office. 2008 was actually a very unique time in our history where both nominees were senators, and that had not happened since 1960. As you could see in 2012, Mitt Romney was a former governor, was not a Washington insider, and I imagine that as we move toward 2016, individuals like former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and governors such as John Kasich in Ohio or Scott Walker in Wisconsin will end up being really the leading candidates in the race. The most difficult sort of reality is that this is an election year, and it happens to also be the president's 6th year in office. In other words, his power is starting to wane, and Congress is much more focused on their own elections and their own needs politically going forward. So it's unlikely that whatever policies the president puts forward, most of which are going to relate to Democratic priorities, and he's facing an opposition Republican House, it's unlikely that really any of those policies will move forward. There is the chance that immigration reform could happen sometime this summer because the Republicans have an interest in also passing some comprehensive immigration reforms. I think one of the things that we see is that this State of the Union comes in the president's 6th year. He is trying to essentially bolster his own power once again and try to, if you will, relaunch and boost his political standing. I think he's certainly hoping for some kind of a popularity bounce out of it. Usually, if it comes, it will be incredibly ephemeral. Most State of the Unions, as our battleground poll actually shows, are essentially lists of detailed policy proposals, and Americans expect that. They don't really expect an inspirational speech. So it's unlikely that this speech will move the needle much in terms of the power dynamics in Washington. It may provide the president a temporary boost to launch his policy initiatives for the 2014 year, but it's unlikely that really anything will come of it.